Welcome to the Smile with Be Miles show. My show is all about one's passion. I happen to have two very passionate guests. In fact, there's so many passions, we're only going to be able to do a 3-hour show. So, Mark and Cindy Effinger, I'm so happy that you allowed Tim Laporte and myself into your beautiful home. And I mean it, when we're going to have to do a 3-hour show, it's usually only an hour. So, would you mind, before you show the house, just sharing a little bit about your background? Because folks are going to know how they know how to do this, besides everything else you've done in your life. So, who wants to go first? You can go ahead.
Yeah, I do.
I knew that. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Okay, left holding the bag.
Right. Okay.
All right, so I guess the start of the story, if you really want to know how it all happened, when I was a kid, my family moved to Vermont, and I was about 13, and my father bought this old farmhouse that really wasn't big enough for the 7 of us. So in the family. So the first thing we had to do was build a little addition on the house. And I had worked in, carpentry stuff, learning, making birdhouses and wagons and helping in the summer camp as a camp, assistant counselor. So I knew tools. And I built a couple of small sailboats as a 7th and 8th grader. And, we used to sail them across Long Island Sound, actually. So I knew tools. And Dad knew some stuff about plans because he was trying to build an addition onto the school that so all the planning part he knew. And we got a local contractor who was trying to start his business, and Dad said, tell you what, I'll trade you running a business, teaching you how to do that, and you tell me what we need to do to build this addition on our house. So Dad and I built it, and Brent Peacock would come every morning and look at what we did the day before and go, you might want to take that down, and tell us what to, then we'd work all day long, and he'd stop on his way. We were on this dirt road in Vermont, and Brent lived way out in the hollow behind.
Where in Vermont are you talking?
Shaftesbury.
Oh, that's a great place.
So he lived in Shaftesbury Hollow, and we were in Shaftesbury on the way to Route 7.
Okay.
So he'd stop in the morning and tell us one thing, and we'd work all day, and he'd stop on the way home and go, hey, take that apart. And so that's kind of how I got bit. And then I worked for Brent summers in high school. And in college, I started just being like handyman and advertising about Middlebury College. So
small world.
Yeah, because Paul also Middlebury. Yeah, and so at Middlebury, I was a theater guy, and you're constantly building sets and things like that. And in the back of my mind, there was always this idea that someday I'd really like to build my own house and have what I wanted. So. Middlebury on ROTC scholarship, so the next thing you know, they shipped me off to Germany, and I'm over there being a nuclear weapons officer for the United States Army.
Good God.
Theater major nuclear weapons, it's called military intelligence, right? Yeah. So I get over there, I got involved in a theater program over there just to have something to do to not go crazy, and that's where I met her.
This beautiful woman.
Yeah. I saw the girls' chorus walk in of Oklahoma, and I said, well, I'd like to get to know that blonde. Maybe I could get in the show.
So you were in the show?
I was in the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they were like 2 weeks before going up, and I heard that they needed some more guys who could sing a bass line in the chorus, and I'm like, I'm not getting involved in this.
Well, you got a good deep voice.
Well, I could sing bass lines, particularly if I go low enough that nobody can tell if I'm really on key or not.
But can you stay on key? That's the question.
I'm real good at why is everybody always picking up?
I love it. You should have a radio show. What do you think of you?
So anyhow, that's how we kind of met, doing production of Oklahoma. And Oklahoma Oompa in Germany.
Can you sing a few bars for us here? That'd be cool.
Oh,
Come on.
I don't know. That might be
a stretch for you.
Oklahoma, right?
Never mind. Okay, so.
Lazy circles in the sky.
Yeah. How long is that show, by the way? I watch it on TV.
Yeah.
Too long.
It's pretty hokey, so it's always too long.
Yeah.
It's always
a lot of dancing, a lot of... Now, you told me, Cindy, the other day when Paul and I were here, about you you were kind of checking them out, not sure.
Oh, yeah, the show was just about ready to, we were about ready to open up. And all of a sudden, this guy shows up and he's dancing with the
Well,
dancer.
they had me do the ballet.
Ballet?
Yeah.
Did you have to wear tights?
No, no, no. But I'm looking at him going, who's this guy? And then the lead, Curly, said, I don't know, he just like came on board. Well, he knew who he was because they had met before.
There's a whole nother story.
But there's that, but we don't have time for
Okay.
that long story. So anyway, so after the show was over with and our rehearsal was done, we all used to go out to the officers club and, go dancing and, you're young, you hang out till 2 or 3 in the morning and, finish
Cast
off the
parties,
energy.
right?
Yeah. So, he was dancing. Can I tell this story?
Please do, because I was hoping you would. Cindy.
He's dancing, and Mark doesn't do anything little. Okay, he does things big. So when he's dancing, he grabs this girl and he's swinging her around and up and down all over the place. And I'm going, somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So he gets ready. He does this twist.
Well,
He
at this
gets
point,
ready.
Can I just interject this? At this point, people kind of cleared the dance floor so they wouldn't get hurt.
Yeah.
So we got this
We thought
whole
you were
group.
John
Yeah.
Travolta, right?
It's just me and her now dancing, and everybody's watching.
Yeah. So the lights are low. In other words, they hang low.
They had this big
Okay.
honeycomb thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
it
no.
hangs low. So he grabs her, twists her, and she's wearing a dress. Twists her, and her feet go punk and stop up at the leg. Her dress falls down over his head, and she jumped out of his arms.
No, she grabbed my knees.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, let go, I'll put you down. Like, here she is, sunny side up,
Yeah, that's right.
I'm like, come on, honey, let go.
And then she went whappo and just slapped him really good. And I went, I gotta dance with this girl.
Oh, how fun.
I gotta try this out. This looks like fun.
Oh, God.
And it just, And
Did you have a dress on?
No.
Oh, good.
I don't wear dresses. But I don't even, it was after the cast, so who knows? We were all just putting stuff on to go out. But I really enjoyed dancing with her. It was a lot of fun dancing with them.
So was it love at first dance, or what was the deal?
It was for me. Before
I started
the dance.
to become
I know,
a little
you're
more.
right.
I didn't like him at all when I first met him, but it started to happen. I mean, that dance was like, this is really interesting. And then I ended up playing his girlfriend in "Come Blow Your Horn." Neil Simon.
So you were already.
And so
bonded.
at that point, we really started to.
We had to
spend a lot
pretend to
more time
like each
together.
other on stage.
Yeah.
And
So we.
it
Give
wasn't
him a
hard
habit.
for you,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So that was
Oh,
the next show, and that's how we ended up a
Yeah.
little bit together. Yeah.
Well, we probably, you've been married, what, 40?
40 years. Over
This summer.
40.
So something's working.
Yeah.
Something happened.
Either that or we're not smart enough to figure out how to end it. One or the other.
No, it's
I
it's a
love
lot
it.
of fun.
I
It's
mean,
a lot of fun.
I could sense that the minute I met you, that you guys were a solid couple.
Yeah.
Children together, that's marvelous.
Yeah.
Now, anything over 5 years is a miracle.
It is.
So,
Yeah.
It is.
kudos to you.
Yeah.
And you're still,
We have a lot of fun together.
Yeah.
you do.
We do have a lot of fun.
All right, so thank you for sharing that because that's a great story. So, Cindy, in relationship to what you just talked about, you kind of skipped over the office. Wasn't your father, grandfather?
No,
you,
I went
somebody?
into the military
Right.
right after high school. Wasn't quite ready for college, and we met. And he was an officer, and I was enlisted. And
You were gentlemen?
yeah, we were not allowed to see each other, nor fraternize or anything, because he's an officer and I'm enlisted.
Oh, wow.
So we had to sneak around. And every time he would come to my base, he would take his shirt off, okay? And he
Because
would have
it
his
had the
Muscle
rank.
bound?
yeah, because he had his
No, and
rank
I
on
could
it.
wear it. I had a T-shirt underneath.
Yeah.
That's part of the uniform.
Because of being a wrestler?
No, because
So the uniform, the problem is the rank on the collar. Okay? So I didn't want her friends, who were all enlisted people, to know I was an officer.
But you had
So
to wear
I take off the big shirt and just walk around in the T-shirt
T-shirt.
and my fatigue pants, which most of the troopies were doing anyway.
so
I would fit in.
So when I would go to his functions, his dinners, I would tell
Civilian
everybody
dress.
I'd be in civilian, and I would tell everybody I was the general's daughter.
I thought so, because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't able to piece the parts. You
Yeah.
guys have done like everything.
Yeah.
Can
and
I
then-
can I add this little part?
Yeah.
because so that was the beginning of the relationship got going, and then we kind of broke up for a little while, and she
Why?
moved out. I was starting to get serious about long term, and she wasn't quite ready for that.
Playing hard to get.
But
Good idea.
while we were apart, I got called into Colonel Fang's office.
Now, who is he?
Colonel Fang was the battalion commander that our company was
Big
under.
shot.
Yeah. And I had to go into Colonel Fang's office because they found out I was dating an enlisted woman. And he gave me a direct order to quit dating her. And I said, actually, sir, that's an unlawful order. I'd like to show you the regulations on this. And there is this whole Army lore about fraternization. But if you look at the regulations, which I happen to have, and I laid it out on the table, I said, it says right there, you are not allowed to have fraternization with an enlisted person with whom there is a command relationship. And sir, she's in 21st Support Command, I'm in 59th Brigade. You got to go all the way back to the freaking Pentagon to get the Vatican. So that's actually an unlawful order. And I'm not going to follow it. And I plan on getting out of the Army as soon as this hitch is over.
Yes,
and I
sir.
believe you want to stay in, and you don't need me to request a court-martial if you don't give me a perfect OER, as I had all of my other officer efficiency reports.
So you were prepared
Oh,
for
yeah.
that. You knew.
Yeah. So I said, I think you can forget this whole order. I request permission to be dismissed. And they let me go, and that was that. I actually said to him, I said, I don't plan on stopping dating her because I'm going to marry her. And he said, when is that? And I said, well, I don't know. I haven't asked her yet. You're the first to know.
You're so cool.
That
So,
was the best part.
were you able to march around freely from that point?
I
We
was
didn't
getting
flaunt it.
out. Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
really flaunt it. He was quite a ways. His base and my base were quite a we were
25
quite a-
miles.
Yeah.
No,
far.
where are you planted at that point? Where?
I was at Kaiserslautern, in Germany.
Kleber-Kasern.
In Germany.
Yeah. And he was.
And I was at Miesau Army Depot.
Right.
And in between is Ramstein Air Force Base, the Air Force
Okay.
headquarters.
Okay.
And then our theater we were involved in was kind of in between the two.
Is that normal to have a theater within the...
Yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Army,
in those
particularly
days.
after Vietnam in particular, there was a large section of rec services
Okay.
that would have, they had like a print shop, and they had an auto mechanic place where soldiers could go in their off hours, so they weren't just going to the bars and
Good.
getting stupid, right?
Yeah.
So they had these little theaters
That's wonderful.
as another one of these rec service things, and so that became the next deal when I finally decided, okay, I've done 2.5 years of nuclear weapons for the Army. I'm going to get out of that, and I'm going to run a theater program for the Army. So,
How cool is that?
so I
Yeah.
managed to. That's another really long story. We'd have to have a whole nother
We'll
episode.
do another
but
segment.
it
It'll
includes volunteering to direct the production of "Don't Drink the Water," the Woody Allen play.
I love
And
Woody.
like we had this was during the occupation in Tehran of the embassy, so we had the Ayatollah Khomeini make a cross through the set. It was dicey,
Yeah,
and I
we'll
did
do
it.
another
I did it
segment.
with the general's driver as the leading man, Jackie Gleason part, and his secretary was the leading lady. And I couldn't get his aide to be in the show, so he was the publicity manager. And we
Oh,
did this
fun.
whole dress blues and dining in thing, and then go see the opening of the new theater. And
So you got already 5 passions then
Yeah.
in the first segment of the show.
So
And
essentially I
we've just started,
blackmailed my
folks,
way.
So settle in, get yourself a drink, relax.
So essentially I
Oh.
blackmailed my way out of nuclear weapons and ran a theater for the last 2 years we were over there.
Great job.
And Cindy worked for me in the theater as a civilian, because she was out now.
Yeah.
When
and
you
I-
say worked for you, what part did you play? What were you
I
doing?
actually ran the theater.
She ran the office,
business
the
side of
management.
the theater.
Yeah.
So you could
and-
be together and do your
Yeah,
passions.
and then I think I directed one show.
Yeah.
I think I directed
Black Comedy.
Black Comedy
Yeah.
there
Wow.
as well. So
I was in Played Against Sam. That was
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Woody and Alan. And of course, I wanted to interview because we're all of the same ilk, and passion for theater is
Yeah.
like never leave us, right?
It's something about theater people. I don't know what it is, but if I walk into a bar and I sit down next to somebody and I start talking to them, 9 times out of 10, somehow I pick the theater person.
Isn't that
You get on an airplane, I never sit where they want me to sit because it's always next to a crossfade.
Oh, you're an
So I get on
independent.
last, and then I sit down next to somebody who looks
And the
interesting,
theater.
9 times out of 10.
How
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. When we first bought the land, and you talked about passion. So I had this interest in property. And then we were teaching. I was running the theater department in Andover, and we were there for 20 years and raised our kids on the campus. A great place to raise a
Nice.
family, and they all got good educations out of it. And we were living in a dormitory in a nice faculty apartment, but attached to the dorm.
Sure.
And it's sort of like, okay, sooner or later these guys are going to be sick of us, or we're going to get sick of them.
Yeah.
We got to have a place of our own.
Right.
And I'd always wanted to get back to the woods. Having southern Vermont is kind of
So
where
you
my
could
heart
do
bumps.
Into the Woods, that show?
Yeah.
We've done that show.
I love that.
So we started looking around, and Cindy managed to, get on the MLS listing and found this property. And
It's just raw land at that point?
it was just raw
Oh,
land.
it's awful.
And the woman
sorry.
I talked to on the phone, when I called up and said, we'd like to go look at that piece of property, she goes, oh, actually, no, you don't. And I said, what do you mean?
Yeah.
She goes, well, it's really a mess. The people who owned it before had
Excuse
it
me?
logged, and they left stuff laying everywhere. It's just, and
It was
I
a
knew,
mess. It was really,
I
truly
knew what she
a
was
mess.
really thinking was, it's going to be a lot of time with these people asking me about where could we do this and how to, and it's, hardly any money. So,
The sellers must have appreciated that,
Yeah.
right?
but I said, look, I want to go look at it. If you just tell me where it is, you don't have to come. I'll go out there. I'll get a topographical map, which I did. And I love running through the woods anyway, so there's another passion.
Yeah, you do.
And I started out, there's on the creek, right? And I knew that it was 1,538 feet up the creek bed. So I the sneakers I don't
Yeah,
mind getting
Paul's
wet. And,
been home bed bound since you took us through the woods.
well, this
Thank
one
you
was,
very much.
this started out right up the creek bed and sort of hoping to do 3 feet per step, leaping from rock to rock and counting and say, okay, here. And then there was the stake that was the corner of the property, up that gully. And then I had to climb up the hill and come back down around because it's 38 acres. So it's a lot of,
Yeah.
Yeah, Notch View's right up there as well.
right,
at
the
top.
notch, the back line is the Notch View Cross Country
Do,
Ski
do you
Preserve.
cross country and ski?
Yeah,
Do you snowshoe?
yeah.
Yeah. We bushwhacked our way up there to the cross country.
So
Oh,
Paul
you
and
take
I
the
can
Skitter
access
Trail.
here when
Yeah.
we want to go to?
Yeah.
You want to do cross
Awesome.
country?
Now,
Yeah.
some of those, the,
Slowly?
Slowly.
the trails that get up there, we need to kind of open them up again, and then through the Notch View Woods to get to the Notch View Trails. Then you got 2,500 acres on this side of Route 9 and another 3,000 on the other side of Route 9. So it's all connected.
It's my show, remember?
Yeah,
You
I-
are a professional director, but I'm just doing this.
I
Because I can't remember lines anymore, so I just improvise. Is that okay?
It's the best way.
Okay, you were a professional wrestler too?
Oh, not professional wrestling.
Wow.
I was a high school wrestling coach.
Coach.
And I was a wrestler in high school, and then when I got to college, I was distance running kind of took over because the college didn't have a wrestling team. But when I went back to Andover, very quickly I went by the wrestling room just to sort of see, and the coach at the time said, and the next thing you know, I was over there in the corner working out with the big guys, and then 20 years later, I was working with the varsity
My head's
wrestlers all the way
busting,
through.
but anytime it's like you would light somewhere, all of a sudden it ignited a new passion.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys sort of master everything.
Wow.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
You
but
light
yeah.
on. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm in amazement whenever I talk to you because something new that
Yeah.
one person would make their,
Well, I think
this is what I did.
we're not afraid to try new things.
Right.
We enjoy the excitement of something new.
Curiosity.
Lifetime
That we're
learners.
curious about everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're pretty fearless. So
When I first met her over in Germany, she had gotten interested in the theater just because something to do, right?
Sure.
But the other passion she was just finishing up was, here we are in Europe. So she got all excited about art history, and she's going off to the Louvre and, learning all these.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
things you don't. I mean, in high school you get taught all this stuff, but it's textbook stuff.
Yeah.
But when you actually get out there and feel and touch, I'm such a tactile kind of person anyway. I like to
That's
to
why you're
touch
an artist,
things.
right?
Yeah, and I love to feel it and to envision what this person was like. For example, Napoleon. We would go to Napoleon's stance, and we'd learn a little bit about Napoleon and what he did, and some of the wars that we're in, and we're actually standing right there where it all happened, and you become part of it. And you don't learn that in textbooks. You don't
Of
learn
course
that
not.
reading about it. You have to
Yeah.
actually be there and feel it.
Like going to Dachau.
So I fell in love with art. I fell in
No,
love
talk
with
about
art
feeling.
history. I wanted to learn more. I couldn't actually. Van Gogh.
Oh, so, you know, in the Berkshires, we have the Clark
Yeah,
Norman, right?
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, think about your theater people. Could you be anywhere
oh yeah.
a better place? I mean,
Than right
unfortunately,
here.
COVID has, you know,
Yeah.
put a
Well, that was a big
Stop.
reason why we wanted to come to the Berkshires.
Of
I mean,
course.
look at all the culture,
Culture.
that's here. You've got
Ah.
that. For me, it's perfect, right? It's the mix of the woods
Yep.
and also the culture.
And-
you know,
Jacob's Pillow. You're a dancer,
And
Yeah.
Tanglewood.
and let's
Yeah.
see how many we can name.
well, and Earth Dance, which is right over that ridge.
What is it called?
Earth Dance.
Earth Dance.
I don't know
It's
about
in
that.
Plainfield.
What
Yeah.
is that?
It's
It's
just
another-
another modern dance.
It's a
company.
facility that
Yeah.
different companies come in
And-
and make dances.
Yeah.
I've got to
While they're there.
explore that.
Windsor, and the town
Wilderness.
people are just
Yes.
wonderful people.
What was that group
Very
you said
loving.
you're on the board of?
I'm on the Friends of Windsor board. I'm a
That
director
is-
on the Friends of Windsor board, and that's a wonderful website to go and see this beautiful video.
I
Yeah.
looked at it.
The town.
Beautiful. Thanks for
Yeah.
sending that. That was
Yeah.
wonderful.
It's-
Do you have to have a membership to be part of that?
No.
No, anybody can be friends with
Anybody can be
Yeah.
part of Friends of Windsor. You know, they do have like your donations, because
Sure.
that's how we all live.
That's how you survive,
Is to
yeah.
survive is on donations.
There's going to
But-
be a fair, their crap. What kind of things do they do? as friends?
Well, they've done the little projects around town. We just did the Berkshire, that craft fair that went on, and we had live bands, and that was put on for the towns, the surrounding towns.
But there's
We've
also a
done-
farmer's market that's a part of it.
Right.
It's like Cindy would be selling her garlic and vegetables and stuff.
Oh
like
God,
that.
we have
Yeah.
so many things to talk about. Do you bring some of your like gourds and things we're going to see later?
Well, I will.
That's a new
but
passion.
that's
Not that one.
no. That's this is actually a new thing for me, the gourds. So I am. This is a new project that I've
Oh, I can't
undertaken,
wait
and
for
I'm
the
learning
folks to
how to.
see your chess set. That would just give them a little snippet
A little
of what
snippet.
you're about to see later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how are we doing on time? Just so we don't.
We got 9 minutes.
Okay, what would you like to wrap up the show with in 9 minutes, leaving me a little bit to say
Okay.
goodbye?
So, well, I want to go back to a part of the story when we got here and I ran the creek and then all this other stuff. But the first day we came, I mean, there was nothing but a beat up driveway and a lot of wood laying around. And I went for a walk up over the top of the hill and I fell in love with the land.
Then
And as
the
I came
agent
down-
wasn't with you.
We had
No, there was a different agent who was with
Oh.
us that time, that we happened to be with that day. And as we came down that hill over there, Cindy was standing on that big, huge boulder.
Okay.
And as she was standing on it, I was just like, oh, thank God. I know she loves this land as much as I do.
Gotcha.
And that was it. It was just like, okay.
You fell in love
Yeah.
with the land.
Well, it has its challenges in terms of, we have to live off the grid, can we do that? Do
Yeah.
we know how to do that?
Well, we also needed to know septic and,
Hadn't perked.
could we drill a well?
Oh my
Would it
God.
perk?
So we had to put a
Where
lot
would
of
you put a
faith.
driveway?
We put a lot of faith into saying, okay, we're gonna commit to this and we're gonna make this happen. And 16 years later, we're living off the grid like it was nothing
Where were you living during those 15 years?
at Phillips Academy.
Well, when we
And
came
coming
out
back and
here,
forth?
Coming back and forth. Usually in the
Wow.
summers. In the summers, we were coming back and forth.
but
Yeah.
when we came out here, we were living that
Yeah. And the studio.
there was a
Oh.
little hunting cabin, 12 feet by 14 feet, and it was pretty messed up, and it had a deck, and the deck was totally rotten. So we rebuilt the deck first, and then fixed up the cabin. So that first summer, we lived in the little cabin and started clearing the land and looking for a place where we could live off the grid and get the solar panels up over that ridge to the south.
Yeah, we had to think about, how do we face the
Wow.
house? How do we get take advantage of the sun? How do we clear and open without taking the woods away? Because we love the
Gotcha.
woods.
Gotcha.
So we had a lot of thinking, and we would go down into Charlemont at that little Charlemont Inn when
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
active,
that's
and we would
adorable.
just
Yeah.
on napkins
Flip
map
over the
out,
placemats, right?
yeah,
I-
map out things.
Drawings, original drawings on the back of the placemats of the Charlemont.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And if you can live in close proximity for all those years, you know you have a solid marriage.
Right.
Right? I mean,
Well, that's what they say.
true.
Yeah, they
Build
say.
a house,
Build-
lose a spouse.
That's what.
So
Happy wife, happy life.
most people, when they say that, build a house, lose a spouse, they fight about picking out tile,
Of course,
wallpaper.
something.
So we just, right off the bat, so, okay, we're not going to go there. So
Right.
the deal is that Cindy was in charge of every cosmetic decision. And I was in charge of every structural decision. So she'd say,
Good
can
idea.
we have that? And I go, well, okay, I could build that. But I would need to have the following tools. And then she'd go buy them. The next thing I know, these tools would
When
show
you
up
really
on the
want
doorstep.
something,
Oh,
And I go,
got it.
damn it, now I got to build it. So that's how it happened.
I love it.
But we would, so anything that you see from a design point of view is Cindy. And anything that you see from like, that's not built right, that's me.
You know, and the advantage we've had is we've traveled all over this world. And every time we travel somewhere, we're like, oh, I like that.
So you pick things from different
Yeah,
houses and
we
stuff?
yeah,
Yeah.
we were in
Or
South
hotels?
Africa. We were traveling in South Africa and we saw the shower. And
Doing
we're like,
theater.
oh, I want a shower just like, you know, can we get a shower like this? Can
And
we
you
make
take
it?
pictures and
Yeah,
come
we
back?
would take pictures and bring it back, but I know I
Great
wanted, you know,
thing.
the glass block wall and the shower, you know, we had ideas of how we wanted things by just kind of grabbing, and we love to
Wow.
travel. We travel a lot.
Can I
Um,
carry your suitcases?
So,
yeah,
you
getting
know,
bigger too, the heavier.
but, you
Well,
know.
Tim, Paul won't like it, but you could come with us. You appreciate traveling. Okay. You raise your hand and I'll choose one of you to finish up. Who wants to wrap up the show?
I don't really know the right way to wrap it up.
Well,
So I guess I'll just say that the best part of this, really, it really comes down to three things in my life that I'm most proud of.
okay.
And the first is being married to her.
Oh.
And
Oh.
the second
How sweet.
is our three boys. And
Look, he's well enough.
He does
Can
that
you
pretty
zoom
easily.
in on that?
a little emotional.
No.
Yeah. But then the third thing is this house. And so these passions, what's been really cool about it is the two of us love projects. So building this was a project of passion, a labor of love. And our three boys all came at part of it. One did a lot, the other two did a little. But also cousins, relatives, friends. My mom and her husband
Yeah.
came down here 82. Dean was on the lift with us nailing
Wow.
shingles on the roof.
Really?
82 years old. I'm like, Dean, get back in here. I don't have insurance for that, Dean.
This house was built by family and friends.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. Is it like a family compound where people come and hang out here?
We
and
have
stay
had,
here?
we have had,
We've had
you know,
that.
tents all over the lawn. We could sleep 14 people in the house, as long as they like each other.